I will not make any deals with you. I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Captain Mike Show. And what I want to do in this, approximately 10-minute teaching or so is, I want to do another summary of my last teaching was how to spot the beginning of the tribulation period, the 7-year tribulation period. And I think I did a pretty good job of summarizing it in that last 10-minute episode at the end of that series. But I felt like I should bring in another little bit different dimension or perspective that people need to kind of come to their own conclusion on, make their own decision on. And what that is that a lot of foundational Bible prophecy, end time teaching, particularly in Revelation chapter 6, is where we're going to start our teaching from today, when those 4 horsemen of the apocalypse through the sound of thunder get released. That's the first seal that's released. That's talked about in chapter 5 of Revelation, where there's all that spiritual stuff going on. Who's worthy to, release these seals or open these seals? And of course, the only one worthy is Jesus. But a lot of people feel that the tribulation period starts there, and that's co-companion with, say, Daniel 9:24 through 27, when the treaty signed, Antichrist and we don't know, other nations or whatever. But actually, I'm going to show you in this teaching, there's no real strong scriptural evidence that when the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse get released, that first white horse with the guy with the bow going out to conquer, we'll read it specifically in a second here. There's nothing that indicates that's the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. And so what I want to do is show how that is that way. It's not necessarily the start of the tribulation. And also the co-companion scriptures to Revelation chapter 6 are certain sections of Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. And we're going to read those brief verses that are all kind of the same with a little different twist. And we're going to see how chapter 6 and those other 3 chapters in the New Testament, the Gospels that I just mentioned, how they mingle and they mix really well. And so it's interesting. If anything, what I would come to a conclusion of in this teaching, and I'll get to it more as we progress, is that what I'd call this period potentially when the white horse is released and when these wars and rumors of wars at Matthew 24, I'd say that's the pre-tribulation birth pains. It's not the beginning of the 7 years, but I think it would mean that we're bucking up or bouncing up against the barrier of that start of that 7-year tribulation. And I think, to be honest with you, not really a real spoiler, but just to be frank with you, I think that we're kind of in that period right now. And I think as we go through that, you'll see that we're kind of bumping up against that tribulation period. While not in it yet, I think we're kind of the chessboard or the maneuvering is being set to make that happen. So let's just dive into the scriptures and let's dissect this a little bit. So turn to your Bibles, Revelation chapter 6, and then we're going to go to Matthew 24, and then I'll lead you forward from that point. Okay, Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. And I saw, when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse. He that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat therein to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Okay, I just want to focus on those two horses because those will relate back to these other scriptures that we talk about. But just a quick honorable mention, as you read a little bit further in verse 5 and 6, you'll see the black horse, which basically symbolizes economic upheaval. And then you're going to see in verse 7, you'll see the pale horse. Verse 7 and 8 is the pale horse. And basically, he's disease, famine, that kind of thing. And those relate to some of the scriptures we're going to read in a second here. But I didn't want to focus too much on those other two horses right now. Okay, so as you can see, in summary, we have a rider on a white horse who went out with a crown to conquer, and he's basically a war creator. Because he goes out conquering and to conquer. And then after that, the second seal, we have a red horse, and he was designed to basically take peace from the earth, and that people should start to kill one another, and was given unto him a great sword. So you have basically a warrior leader that's going out to just try to conquer things. And then you got another seal in the spirit realm that's opened up that allows people to start getting wrapped up in war and craziness, and peace is removed from a lot of nations, and you get this stirring, melting pot, boiling water thing starting to go of basically war and destruction. It's starting to heat up. Okay, so now let's go to Matthew 24. Okay, Matthew 24, starting in verse, we're going to read 6 through 10. Matthew 24, verse 6 through 10. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Okay, try to kind of remember the flavor of that wording and how it was worded, because now let's go to Mark 13, and you're going to find it very similar, but not exactly the same. So I tried to only read the verses in these three different books that basically say the same thing, but with a little bit different inflection or a little bit different adjectives. Okay, so, which is good because God speaks mysteriously through our spirits that way, and we can pick up some little aha nuggets that help us get better understanding. Okay, so Mark chapter 13, let's read verse 7 through 12. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. But take heed yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in the synagogues you shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must be first published among all the nations. Sorry, I read too much there. Okay, so that's good. You get the flavor of that little bit different take. But let us now go to Luke chapter 21, and we're going to read verses 9 through 16. And pay attention to this particular interpretation. It's a little bit definitely different than the other two, and I think it helps shed a little bit different angle on things. So here we go, starting in verse 9. But when you shall hear of wars and commotions, different word from the others, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Note this, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. Verse 12, But before all these, they shall lay hands on you and persecute you, deliver you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all of your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And you shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren. Now, let us go back to Matthew 24 and start in verse 6 again to bring our summary in for a landing that will ultimately bounce back to Revelation 6:4 to show some of these very interesting similarities in all these scriptures. So Matthew 24, verse 6 again. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Okay, so we've read all these similar passages in the other things in Mark and Luke as well as Matthew here now. Now let's show how interesting it overlays back to Revelation chapter 6. Okay, let's turn back to Revelation chapter 6 to bring our summary in for a landing. Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. And I saw, when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And then the third seal opens. Okay, so here's what I would say to kind of summarize in general how this scripture relates to Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. Obviously, if you go back to Matthew 24, there's wars and rumors of wars. So that's been on the earth for quite a while. But he said to really watch it, because what I feel like he's saying in those three passages that we read in the Gospels, that pay attention when you see wars and rumors of wars, because that's the stirring and the activation of the end times. It's the build up to the tribulation period. And then if you read further in those Gospels, you'll obviously find that as those persecutions heat up with the Christians, you probably are already into the tribulation period where the 10 global regions have already been broken up and there's a lot of intense pressure on the earth. But in the beginning, when there's wars and rumors of wars, nation states still exist. And so I believe those are companion scriptures to the ones we just read, where the horse goes out to, where the seal is broken, and the horse, the man, the rider on the white horse goes out to conquer and to conquer. I think that's ratcheting things up. I think that's where you really do start to see, say, a regional war start to expand more into a multi-nation war. And I think when you start to see that World War III stuff start to stir, you are seeing definitely the beginning of the tribulation period. And I think more than likely you're seeing the first seal opened here in Revelation. You're starting to see the first seal. And if it starts to really expand and stretch out, and everybody's starting to get stressed, and there's more wars breaking out, regional wars breaking out, then I would say both the first and the second seal, the white horse and the black horse, the first of the two horsemen of the apocalypse, have been opened. When you start to see these wars regionally, and when you get into World War III, I think it's kind of a no-brainer that we are definitely into Revelation chapter 6 and the seals beginning to open. Now, I don't believe the 7-year period of the tribulation has started at this point. That will not happen until I believe the dust settles from the big war, and all the things, as I've recorded already, all the earth, the 7 global regions get broken up into those 10 basic dictatorships. That's, I believe, when the true 7-year clock begins to tick. But I think, but the thing to catch all of us as Christians be aware of is that if some of these things that we're experiencing right now in 2022 begin to expand out, then we could find the actual seals of Revelation starting to creak open. And it does accelerate pretty quick. I don't think World War III will go on for a long period of time. I believe it's something, because of all the modern warfare, it'll be a very quick war. It'll be something that could be settled in a year or two, not go on for 4 or 5 years like the last 2 world wars. It won't drag on like a Vietnam War. I think it'll be something that'll happen pretty quick. And it'll be pretty devastating. And then you get the other 2 horses where famine and economic upheaval happen, with the black horse and the pale horse. And then you get deeper into Matthew 24, where it talks about famines and people start hating each other and families start getting divided. A lot of peace is taken off the earth at that time. But I think that's my summary. I think that just know that we're going to see the seals open before we see the 7-year tribulation. We potentially could see the seals of Revelation chapter 6 we could potentially see the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse begin to be released upon the earth before the 7-year period of tribulation starts. They don't happen at the same time necessarily. It could actually happen before the 7 years. So I think that's an interesting thing to ponder and meditate on. Okay, thanks for listening.
Captain Mike Show.
Catch us next
Thank
time.
you for joining us. If you like this teaching, please consider donating by clicking on the PayPal link in the description area of this video. If you would like to contact me directly, you may email me at thecaptainmikeshow@yahoo.com. Remember, Acts 4:12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Speaking of Jesus Christ. And also, please remember John 14:6. Jesus say unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. Blessings to all of you, and until next time, be seeing you.
Be seeing you.